purpose of this video is to show you how I took my tricks and skills using TAB, or Teaching for Artistic Behaviors, flipped classroom, and gamification, and switched it up to be able to work in an elementary classroom with kindergarten through 5th grade. We're in the hallway because, once again, I start my class in the hall. There's no distractions here, and they are more easily able, took me a second, to internalize the information I'm giving them. I use these little stands that are actually for flower holders, and you can get them for free if you just ask your florist, because they cost about $3.50 for them. All my students get a stick. I'm grabbing a stick that doesn't have a name on it. I put their class code, which is how I make sure I don't lose the stick, and a number, and their name. The class codes are like, if it's 3rd grade Bowerly on Wednesday, I would write 3B/W, so it's easy to always track them back into their spots. Then in the hall, we also collect our WOW project proposals, which, depending on the grade of the student, is where they get to make the choices within the classroom. So what are they going to make? How are they going to make it? What art magic or principles and elements of design are they going to use to make it? And then they get any peer feedback, including what center or station they want to work at. As they enter my room, I am greeting them at the door. So they have their stick, and if we're in the middle of a project, they have their WOW project proposal. So we're reviewing, before we even walk into the room, our purpose of learning for that day. They stick their stick in the bucket of the center that they want to work at. There's no moving sticks. We just keep the line moving. They walk all the way around. Oh, my computer just froze on me. I'm going to have to re-put my code in. So they go all the way around. Once they are around, they pick up off of those containers down at the bottom a whiteboard, a eraser, and a dry erase marker, and then they start their art magic. The art magic is where they are using those principles and elements of design to refine and practice their ability to look for not only those things, but actually execute a drawing with those skills. So I'm making sure that those concrete drawing skills are going to be able to be taken with them, and is something that helps all of their artwork get better. Once they are done with that, which I do set a timer, so really within the first, as soon as their class gets there, to the time the art magic is done, I want that to take 3 minutes. If a student only had 30 seconds to work on their art magic, that is okay. They turn their boards, they show them to me, or sometimes I collect them to take formative assessment data. We'll clean off our boards, pass everything to the front, and then on this screen, I play a 3.5-minute video. You will notice that many of my videos are longer than 3.5 minutes. I pick a portion of those videos to show the class, and I document what video a class needs based off of the feedback from the previous class. And I'll show you how I keep track of all of that with the different classes. It's a lot easier than you think. Okay, they've now watched a 3.5-minute video, and there's always a little dawdle time. So really, in between 10 and 12 minutes, they should be ready to get their artwork. And again, I'm using this countdown timer to keep me and my students moving quickly through that beginning process of the class. Students, while I was watching the video, while students were watching the video, I was passing out sticks. If I had more than 6 students request a center, then that is okay. I flip the sticks over. If they have a dot and a date, which is how I track if a student didn't get their first choice, then those students are guaranteed their second choice. Then any student who doesn't have a dot, they would get their second choice for that day. And you would be surprised. So this is a half-time school where I teach 3 days a week, 400 students, and less than 5 students have 2 dots on their sticks. And in most class, most students don't have a dot. You'd be surprised how it kind of evenly disperses. The secret is to have a lot of overflow. So I happen to have 36 seats, which means I have in between 30% to 20% additional seating to make sure that my students are more likely to get that first choice. Well, how do I make that happen? The trick is I kind of squeeze them in. So for example, I create a carpet spot for work where they are on the floor. This is less space than a table would take up, and the students are more likely to work and talk together on the floor. You'd be surprised how much they like that spot. And then I have little trays up right there, you can see, for them to work on top of. I also eliminate chairs. I can fit a lot more students around a table if they are standing. I can get 6 students around that table, no problem, whereas it's really a table only meant for 4, but it works just fine. Okay, once they are at their centers, they have approximately 25 minutes of work time. Again, I used the countdown clock, and I use a playlist that on iTunes that plays the same music every time, and so they naturally start getting used to the cues of the different songs. The last song is Under Pressure. And when the timer dings, I do my chimes. We stop, stand, and listen. I give any directions about cleanup that might be different or unusual, or I repeat what we've always done. The secret of all of the tab choice is that every single day of art is exactly the same. If something happened and a class gets here 7 minutes late, it takes all my spirit to not just say, well, forget the beginning of the class stuff, but I can't. I can speed it up, but I cannot take it out. That routine builds consistency of behaviors and expectations. So for cleanup, they have 5 minutes or less to clean their center. If they leave their center a mess, then Miss Russ closes the center for the next time, and all I have to do, wrong hand, is take one, take the bucket down, and again, I'll show you how I document that. It's really easy. Then the last 5 minutes of class, they are at my mat, and they are talking about their art. This is crazy important. You will not get growth and progression of ideas if they do not talk and share with each other. This is how your advanced students will continue to advance. It is how your students share and learn things like you give them a prompting question. So the prompting question might be, how'd you do that? And then they get to learn about shading, or they get to learn, any of those 1 minute to 30-second demos I'm doing, because during all this 25-minute work time, I'm meeting with students. And by giving the share time as an option, it lets that learning expand into other students as they demo for others. Okay, once we're at a time, they come back around the table, and then this is where the gamification kind of comes in. So we had our learning goal in the beginning. We readdress, let me tilt this down so you can see. We readdress our goals. So if we are working on a WOW project, which we're just starting one, so that's why this doesn't have it filled out yet, but they're going to tell me what they got done today, and then I sign their spots. So this is how I can keep track of any friends who are struggling, and then they could go and sit at my teacher help desk if they were not able to get something signed off, right? Then they also come over here and they mark the center that they worked at. This is how I keep track that different learning experiences are happening for my students, not just with the media, but also 3-dimensional and 2-dimensional. I want them to experience both, but that share time really prevents a student from going back to the same center. You'd be surprised. It just naturally happens when you allow them that time to talk. Then they keep walking this way. They put their art, wrong direction, make you seasick, in their drawer, which is also labeled with their class codes. And their sticks now from the tabletop that they had them go into either the I need an art pass because I didn't meet my goal bucket, or it goes into the I met my goal bucket. Now, I will have students take an art pass just because they want to come in. But again, their sticks are in the bucket. I take them all out. If there's more than 4 sticks, then I flip them over. Anyone who has a dot with date on the back obviously gets their first choice sooner than other friends. And then if they don't get a pass and wanted one, then they would get a dot and a date on the back. So they're more likely to get their first choice. And this is how most of my dots will happen, is they want a pass and don't get one. I just keep them on my door frame. I use magnets, so this can go right onto their locker so they can remind them that Friday recess pass, come to art. I give up my lunch on Fridays. I just do. And then in case they don't want to come, these are designed, see those are those class codes for their class. So they could give it to the teacher, and the teacher could give it to an additional friend. Then I also have VIP passes for those kids that maybe did work one-on-one with me. I want them to be able to come in. I give them a VIP pass, and then they don't have to do luck of the draw from the art pass bucket. Last thing I'm going to talk about is behavior. Woo, this is a lot. So to manage behavior, I say we have to be leaders in the art room, and there are two ways we do that. Individually, their job is to either go to the Peace Corner because they need a break, or to sit at the help desk because they want teacher help. And that is that table in the center of the room here. And my Peace Corner is very close to me, but is also a nice, dark, quiet space underneath that table. Obviously, the older students I try and train to instead ask to go get a drink of water. But you'd be surprised how little students use the Peacetime Corner. And then the rule is they go from the Peacetime Corner to the teacher help desk, and then they get to rejoin their center. Because they will get frustrated. They're doing really hard things in the art room. Then, if they can't do that on their own, I can ask them to do that. If they don't, then they have to go fill out a reflection, which, spinning some more, is this Think Time reflection desk. I have 2 different reflections. I do not put the age range on here so that I can base it off of how well I think the student can write and how reflective I think the student can be. Oh, that was my timer. So this one does not involve any writing. They can draw everything out. And this one involves a lot of writing, which I'll get a better response if they can write and really reflect, but clearly age appropriateness. And then finally, we do give out tickets for each class. I post this on this side of the glass so students can see it, and the opposite side of the glass so teachers can see it, and they can know whether we had a 4-ticket, 3-ticket, or 1-ticket day. Remember, individual students do not determine class tickets. You have to decide a class response versus an individual response. But to be honest with you, greeting the kids in the hall, and then just if those kids are not ready to learn, I shoo them right into the Peace Corner and wait for them to kind of come around. And then we don't really, very rarely do I have to use these reflection sheets. I hope that you can take some of these ideas on how I run my classroom to have your students experience something a little bit different and your world be a little bit more joyous. Because I know it sounds like this is a lot, but to be honest, my day is happy and my students love coming here with all the freedom and choice and responsibility they have in the art room. I have found the more responsibility I give to students, the more responsible they become. Thanks for listening. Bye.